He's done nothing wrong so far. He's done exactly down the Alture route, if you like, in that he won the Supreme, he won the Arkle. He's technically undefeated. There's only one fall that's been a blip on his when he fell over hurdles the first time. Who knows? I mean, his life's in front of him still. He's got a long way to go. But you know, he's got the first 2 seasons out of the way. Now it becomes tougher, and I think that's a very hot division this year. There's going to be a lot of opposition.
He's summered well though. I know you've been impressed with how he's done.
I have. I mean, actually, ever since I went to see him after he'd been out for 3 weeks, I couldn't believe how much he'd grown. And he definitely has. He's just come up into a fine big horse now, and yeah, everything's on. You know, it's exciting, but it's going to be. This is where we find out. He's been very impressive so far, and he has done absolutely nothing wrong at all.
And his schedule sort of maps itself out.
It does. I mean, everybody accuses us of being Cheltenham. Of course it's Cheltenham. I mean, the champion chases what the champion 2-miler wants to win. So I don't say it works round there. No, there's plenty of other things. I hope we'll start in the Tingle Creek, and then we'll work our way through onwards and upwards. We're going to go over the 3-mile route anyway. Now, we tried it at Aintree, went from 2.5 at Cheltenham to 3 miles at Aintree, and he got the trip well there. You know, it's a different track. Now we're going to go 3 miles over a proper test. I suspect I'd like to start in the Sandown sort of intermediate race, which is a good starting point. We've used it before with the likes of Santini. In fact, Pim won it last year. So it would be a good place for him to begin, and then see where we go from there. I mean, if you didn't go there, you'd probably think about the Betfair, but you know, JP's not frightened to run. You know, if you want to run them both, i.e. him and Champ, in the Betfair, fine. But I'd rather split them up if we can.
Yeah. Chantry House did nothing wrong last season. He did have a blip, but I think there was an alibi for that with some kissing spines.
He did have kissing spines, and we operated on him, and he came back from it incredibly quickly. In fact, he was back on the racecourse within 8 weeks of surgery, which was remarkable, and then his jumping was brilliant again. And again, he was like Shishkin. He was able to go to Cheltenham and Aintree, and you know, they both won both.
And I think he's done
again very much like Shishkin. He's come back a much bigger, stronger horse. Yeah.
Champ is running a Gold Cup, so we'd like to hope he's a Gold Cup horse. And again, he had some issues towards the end of last season.
Yeah, he did. He's always actually had back issues anyway, and he'd had previous surgery. Ger Kelly did that in Ireland, and he was always under the opinion that actually there was still something lurking in there that needed attention that he couldn't get first time round, and he did do that this summer with a different procedure, and the horse seems really well in himself. So, you know, we've got to put last year's Gold Cup behind us and just start again. And the plan would be to start in the Betfair. He has to go left-handed, yeah. So we are slightly limited to what you can do. So you can't go King George. So the Betfair is the obvious place to start.
And your faith in his raw talent is intact?
Well, I mean, he's very talented. He's always looked like a Gold Cup horse. Unfortunately, when he went there, he was obviously blatantly wrong on the day. He couldn't jump a hurdle, let alone a fence. Yet 3 weeks before at Newbury, he put up a display of jumping that had to be seen to be believed. He was brilliant. But I suspect what he did at Newbury was a bit too much, and it hurt his back. Well, he's always looked like a high-class horse, and he's always, not give him good ground, he's always run like one. And I'd love to step him up to 3 miles. Where and when, I'm not sure. I was thinking about the Charlie Hall. I don't know, we're quite going to be ready for it, but we'll just see over the next weekend whether he is. otherwise there's other places we can go.
And one chaser who hopefully can come back into that category is Angel's Breath, who you'd love to see back, but it's not going to be easy getting him.
It is not going to be easy, but he is absolutely top draw. He's a very, very good horse, but unfortunately when his last run, when he won very easily at Ascot, he actually severed 40% of his tendon, and it was a horrendous injury. He's back cantering, so touching all wood that's available. You know, so far so good, but it's going to be a long, long road back, and it's going to be on thin ice.
Like Champ, Epatante might have had some problems with her back, but hopefully they've been rectified.
She did. She'd always very sort of rigid over her back, and I think again we've done what we can over the summer to improve it. She seems in very good form, and we'll obviously, I would say we'll start with the fighting fifth as usual, and take it from there.
Needless to say, Honeysuckle will be a tough nut to crack, but
yes, she will. But I mean, that's why I can't see her coming to Newcastle. So, I mean, I can see plenty of others like those horses that ran Silver Streak and So Royal, who ran yesterday. I mean, you could easily see them turning up in the fighting fifth, and they won't be easy anyway. So, yeah, it's going to be tough for her now. But you know, this time last year she looked unbeatable, and we've got to get back to that stage. He's got to go down the staying route, and he showed at Aintree last year that, you know, when we ran him over further, that he did stay. He always did, actually. He loves soft ground. Whether it's 2.5 or 3, I'm not really quite sure. I'd like to start at 2.5. But with a view to going up to 3 miles at some stage. We'll just have to see. There are lots of races in all those categories, so, well, there aren't an awful lot, but, you know, he's out of handicaps now, as he was second in that Grade 1 at Aintree, and, you know, he's cluttered up with penalties, so you've got to start somewhere in those graded races.
Do you have anywhere in mind we could see him over hurdle?
No, I just said I'd like to start at 2.5, but that's just not as easy. I mean, the Ascot hurdle would be the obvious one, but that's not for a bit. So we'll see. I mean, he had a week off after Newmarket. He deserved one, and I'd like to wait for some rain too. That was, you know, that ground at Newmarket was only just all right for him.
And another that's going to be in the senior hurdle department, unless you go chasing, is DUSART. What can you tell us about him?
Well, that's a difficult one because he's only ever had 2 runs in his life. Very impressive in what looked a very competitive novice hurdle at Newbury. And then he got a horrible injury in the middle of the winter. It was a miracle he got back at all. And then I ran him in a Grade 1 over 2 miles at Aintree, which, you know, they blatantly went too quick for him. And he finished second to a very good horse. And you know, he'd learnt a lot from that. Now, you know, he's stuck in one of those positions where you've only had 2 runs. You're not a novice. He hasn't any experience. Do you go over fences? Well, I think we'd start over hurdles and see where we go from there. This is the next generation, and I think we said at the beginning of last year that I thought our strength was in the novice chasers, and luckily we were right with SHISHKIN and CHANTRY House. I think if there's strength this year, it's in the novice hurdlers, and there was a whole stack of them there that won their bumpers. Some of them won 2. And I mean, you know, it's difficult. I wouldn't even put them in an order. John Bon, obviously, he's visibly very impressive at Newbury, rather like we hoped and got to say thought he would be. I think I Am Maximus put up a tremendous performance in his bumper when he won at Cheltenham. Fast Step was 2 out of 2, and then there's a whole host of them. Wise Guy and Doddy the Great, and yeah, I could give you 10. I'd think Walking on Air's a really nice horse, and Hob House.